and only the BBC in England, and they would play it. We would know when they'd play it. It would be like 9:40.
Ringo Starr just turned 85, but his birthday celebration left fans deeply worried because the Beatles drummer suddenly broke down crying during his annual Peace and Love moment, and he even had to cancel shows in Philadelphia and New York after getting sick. And though doctors told him to rest, everyone felt something deeper was wrong. Especially when, for the very first time in his life, he publicly mourned John Lennon and George Harrison during his birthday speech, where his voice cracked. As he tried to keep his emotions together, and people began asking what is really happening to the last surviving Beatle, and how much more can he endure? Because his journey started in the toughest way, back on July 7, 1940, when Richard Starkey was born in Liverpool as German bombs shook the city every night, and his father walked out when he was just 3, leaving his mother Elsie working non-stop as a cleaner and barmaid to keep them alive. And then when he was only 6, his appendix burst, causing a deadly infection that left him in a coma and stuck in a hospital bed for almost a year. And when he finally got out, he was 8 years old and far behind in school. Yet he pushed forward even as life kept throwing harder challenges, like the tuberculosis outbreak when he was 13, that forced him into another hospital for 2 long years, where he discovered rhythm for the first time after a nurse handed him a mallet and told him to tap a metal cabinet. And that tiny moment sparked a fire inside him, giving him hope in a world filled with gangs fights and danger in the Dingle neighborhood where he grew up. And music quickly became his escape, as he worked as an apprentice machinist while practicing skiffle music with friends until 1957, when his stepfather bought him his first drum kit, which eventually led him to join Rory Storm and the Hurricanes and take the stage name Ringo Starr because his rings shined under the lights, and he dreamed of being seen. And soon he was playing in Hamburg, in the wildest clubs surrounded by drugs, non-stop drinking, and chaos. Yet he survived and even recorded with John, Paul, and George before anyone knew their names. And then in August 1962, everything changed when Pete Best was fired and Ringo suddenly became the Beatles' new drummer. But he was greeted with boos chants of "Pete forever, Ringo never," and even death threats. Fans attacked the stage, and George Harrison was headbutted. Yet Ringo stayed and fought for his place even when producer George Martin replaced him with another drummer in early recordings, humiliating him so badly he feared he would be fired just like Pete Best. But instead he practiced harder than anyone, developing his unique sound. Because he was left-handed, using a right-handed kit, which helped shape songs like Love Me Do and Please Please Me. And soon his charm made him a fan favorite, even as the band faced screams, hysteria, and dangerous crowds grabbing at him, until he could barely breathe. And then the world tours, movies, and non-stop pressure pushed him to collapse from illness in 1964, causing the Beatles to replace him temporarily, which terrified him. But he came back again and again because he refused to be left behind. And even when the Beatles filmed Help and faced danger in Manila in 1966, where thugs punched and kicked their team and pulled guns on them, Ringo stayed calm, trying to hold the band together. Yet by 1967, he felt invisible during Sgt. Pepper waiting hours while the others experimented, and by 1968 he finally walked out, telling them he felt unloved until they begged him to return by covering his drum kit in flowers, saying, "Welcome back, Ringo." Yet the peace never lasted, as Yoko Ono entered the studio. Heroin filled the room, and arguments tore them apart while Ringo got rushed to the hospital in 1969 with intestinal pain. And the band wondered if they would lose him too. And then came the final heartbreak when Paul screamed in his face during a fight, and later publicly announced the Beatles were over without warning, leaving Ringo shattered, depressed, and unsure who he was without them. While legal battles froze their money and destroyed trust until even their friendships felt broken, but Ringo still kept creating. And in 1973, Photograph became a huge #1 hit, proving he could shine on his own. And years later, he formed the All-Star Band and returned to the stage making fans cry with joy as he survived addiction, a painful divorce, and a home destroyed by drugs while he and Barbara Bach hit rock bottom and checked into rehab to save their lives. And slowly he rebuilt everything, including a marriage that still stands strong and a career filled with love, laughter, and gratitude, even though he suffered heavy financial losses from failed furniture businesses and painful disputes, like when he was replaced as the beloved narrator of Thomas the Tank Engine, which angered families everywhere, and even though tabloids attacked him and money managers froze his earnings, Ringo kept giving, especially through his charity, the Lotus Foundation, raising millions from his artwork and helping causes close to his heart. And yet in 2025, as he stood emotional on his birthday, fans saw the years in his eyes. They saw how much he misses John and George, how much he has survived, how much he still hurts beneath that famous smile. And even though he announced new country albums and says he will never retire, his fans now realize every concert, every laugh, every peace and love moment is precious, because he is the last Beatle standing. So if you love Ringo and want to keep celebrating his life legacy and music forever, make sure you subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin and press the bell icon, because we will keep honoring the legends who changed the world, and you will not want to miss what comes next.